Happy Friday facts. I'm so excited to have Nora El-Khouri Spencer here with us. Finally, we have her here. I see some people are joining, and I'm all ready for the interview. I'm wearing my Hope Renovations t-shirt. I got my jeans on, I have my red nail polish and my red lipstick, so I'm ready to get to work with Nora. And Nora, she's the founder and the CEO of Hope Renovations. She is a CNN hero, one of the top 10 finalists. She's the National Association of Home Builders Woman of the Year. You have all kinds of fun titles. And as people are joining us, I will show, as of last week, she's a cover woman. This came in the mail. This is the Chapel Hill magazine that has this great spread on Nora. And so somehow cover girl doesn't sound right, so I'll say cover woman. She's got this awesome spread. If I hadn't known her forever, I would be completely intimidated by how famous you've become. Nora, welcome to Friday Facts.
Wow, what an introduction. Thanks, Heather. I hope that no one is ever intimidated when they meet me, but I'm delighted to be here. Thank you.
Well, I'm so excited. We're going to dive into Hope Renovations and what it's about. But first, and I know you've been doing this a lot lately as you've become a bit of a media darling, but tell a little bit before Hope Renovations, talk about Nora. Where do you come from, your background? How did this all get started?
Sure. Yeah. I'm born and bred Tar Heel, so I grew up down in Salisbury in Rowan County, North Carolina. Came to UNC for undergraduate, got a degree in journalism, did that for almost no time at all. Left journalism and I got into the HR world. So I started working in a staffing organization, like a temporary staffing agency. And that was sort of a turning point, I think, in my career, because it was the first time I'd ever really had a lot of interaction with the world of blue collar work. I grew up in a very, white collar family. I had a lot of friends who were blue collar because we lived in a rural county, but just being in that world and seeing how, someone's life could change when they went from making $8 an hour to $12 an hour, and just seeing what work and good work can do for someone's life. So got into HR, went to work for Lowe's corporate headquarters. And I always tell the story that the reason I started doing this stuff and swinging a hammer is that we had a great employee discount. And my husband, Brian, and I bought our first house. We were too cheap to pay people to do stuff for us. So just started figuring stuff out. Lots of YouTube University and DIY channel back when you actually learned stuff on the DIY channel. It just snowballed over the years. We bought a couple more homes that we remodeled. I would follow contractors around and ask them, show me how to do that, show me how to pull wires, show me how to frame up a wall. And they loved showing me. And I would ask the question, do you ever have any other women working with you? Have you ever had any female employees? And the answer was almost always no. And the ones that did have female employees would say, yeah, I've had one. She was the best employee I've ever had. I'd clone her if I could. And it just really started to sink into me that we're just not invited into this industry. I never saw any other women doing it. That stuck with me. I left Lowe's. I went to work for IBM, also in recruiting and HR, did a lot of diversity initiatives with IBM, lots of women's empowerment because it's a very male-dominated company. And I really enjoyed that. I had a moment, I call it a corporate-induced epiphany, that I didn't want to work in corporate anymore. So I went back to school to get a master's in social work. And I wanted to use it as an opportunity to bring my business experience, my workforce and HR experience, my love for women's empowerment, my love for the trades, and I wanted to figure out how to put it all together. And honestly, I thought I'll find a company that trains women for the trades and I'll go work for them. It didn't exist. There was at the time, there were less than 10 women's trades training programs in the entire country. And the only one in the South was in New Orleans. And so, I sort of started to think to myself, well, I'm probably going to have to invent this if I want to make this a thing. And then, my final year in social work school, I decided to take a social entrepreneurship class, and that was in Keenan Flagler Business School. I was only a social worker in a room full of MBAs. It was being taught by a woman who was an aging expert. You can see her on camera right now. She's got a Hope Renovations shirt on. And yeah, the rest is history. In that class, we were tasked with coming up with a socially entrepreneurial venture. I didn't see how I could make Hope Renovations aging focused. In my mind, it was a training program for women, and I thought, I don't want this to be, just for older adults. I'm not sure how I can do this. But then we learned about the concept of aging in place, and it honestly was a light bulb moment. And I realized if I have a training program, they're going to need hands-on experience. Older adults need this support. There's not enough contractors doing this work. I'm going to put those two things together, and Hope Renovations literally was born in that classroom in that moment, right in front of
Yeah.
their office.
Yeah, that I can tell you all, it was amazing to be in the room for Nora's presentation, and to be, I think, one of the first person to hear it.
Absolutely.
When Nora did her class presentation on her idea for Hope Renovations, and you talked about being a double social venture, both for older adults to help them age in place and to teach women the construction trades. The way you present it, I will tell this audience that the audience there was an audible gasp when you said, we want to help older adults age in place, and the way we want to do it is with a women's construction trade. You did it even smoother than that. The entire audience went, and I think that's what's been happening for more than 6 years now, is anytime anyone hears about Hope Renovations, there's an audible. So, all right. So just to share, so you got an A on the paper, you got honors in the class. How did it go from a class project to, I'm going to make this my life's work?
Yeah. I still was a little bit on the fence as to whether I should jump into this, but, with your support, obviously, and the support of others who were in the room and gasped and thought it was a great idea and it had legs, I decided, okay, well, I guess this is what I'm doing. So graduated from school social work and really immediately started working on the business plan. That was summer of 2017. We incorporated that fall, pulled the board together. Heather was a member of that first board. Where, everybody sort of doesn't know what they're doing, but they're like, yeah, we love this idea. Let's make it happen. And I really spent the first 3 years just putting the structure together. So, I'm not a nonprofit person. This is the first nonprofit I've ever worked for. I come from a business background. And to me, you have to have, the plan in place. You got to have the operations in place, the marketing ideas, and you have to have the partnerships. And that was really a critical part of it, was meeting people in the community who were excited about this work, who worked in the aging space, who worked in the construction space, and just talking to them about, like, what are the needs? What's the landscape look like? How can we best impact our community if we do this? Got our first big grant from the North Carolina Department of Commerce and hired a couple of folks, and we were all set to get started in March of 2020. And that did not happen. But, we waited a couple of months, and, we had trainees we'd already recruited into that first cohort, and they were calling us and saying, look, we need to, this isn't getting any better. We need to get jobs. The construction industry was booming. It was an essential industry. Older adults were sheltering in place in homes that already had issues, and they were just getting worse and worse. And a lot of the community organizations that did that repair and renovation work, they weren't doing it. So we saw it as an opportunity to mask up and sanitize our hands, and we ripped the Band-Aid off, and we got launched in June of 2020 in the middle of COVID.
And I can, sorry for the folks, I know I keep fangirling, but I'm just so proud of Nora. And yeah, besides being in the room, I also was one of your first clients. in the
Yes.
scariest part of the pandemic when people wouldn't come inside. I call it the pre-vaccine days of the pandemic while my mom was really struggling at home. I was, I think, one of the very first clients, and your Kat and Kate, Kate with masks came into my mom's apartment and put some handrails up in her bathroom, changed the shower so that way showering could have a anyway, the tube thing. I
The
can't
hand
do it.
shower. Yeah.
The hand shower, you put it in. And one of the last lovely pictures of my mom when she was alive was actually a sweet picture I took with her and your team. And so I'm
Yeah.
so excited that I could be and can really attest to the fact that even though it was a scary time, your
Right.
team said, we're going to go and help folks at home.
Yeah. And
So
we love that picture. And, you know, that's the best part of what we do is, you know, when the project's done to see the smiling faces and to know that it's not just the older adults that we're helping, it's their families. It's the people who care about them that we're giving hope to, that mom's going to be okay or dad's going to be okay, and we don't have to worry as much.
it helps make life just a little bit easier. We've been talking the last few days this week all about challenges as being a caregiver and a care partner. And that's what you really have been offering hope. Now, in terms of your background, you really combined interesting things. So you have this training as a businesswoman, then you went and became trained as a social worker, and then you added in not too long ago or over the past few years, you became a general contractor yourself and a certified aging in place specialist. That is a fascinating combination of your skill sets. And I know from your staff, you have also a combination of construction staff and social work staff. Kind of talk
Yes.
about that coming together of minds.
Yeah, we joke that we're social worker construction workers. We invented it. But honestly, the two the two come together really nicely. I don't think anyone would normally think of the two in the same sentence, but construction and building is all about creating, you know, our lived spaces, the spaces that are important to us, the places where we raise our families, where we, you know, where we shelter in place when there's a pandemic, where we have our schools, our churches. And what better lens for all that than the lens of social work? I'm a master of social work, our director of operations, our director of construction, our director of training. We all have our MSWs. And I think what that does is it really gives us a whole person lens. So, you know, we could go into homes and we could just put in some grab bars or fix a bathroom, or we could bring someone into a training program and just teach them how to swing a hammer. But that's not really taking away any barriers that they might have. It's just putting a Band-Aid on a problem. So, you know, when we have folks come through our training program, we spend a lot of time on case management. What other barriers do they have? Is it transportation? Is it childcare? Is it mental health? You know, how can we help them when they come out of our program be the absolute best employee that they can be so that they can maintain that job and really change their lives? And the same on the aging in place side. You know, if we go into a home to do some grab bars or to fix some rot and we see that there's other issues, or we understand from talking to our customers that they may need some other help, some other resources, we're connectors and we connect them to other resources in the community, other organizations. I wish every construction company or you know, tradesperson that went into somebody's home did that. And that's sort of what we bring to the table.
Yeah, and in terms of any employer, especially in the direct care workforce, I mean, there's so many wonderful ways to support employees in helping. And so transition from supporting older adults, and you did that in the first few months, and then you did start launching the trades program. And
Yes.
this is what has, I think, really blown up and captured so much attention and so much excitement and a lot of participants. So
Yes.
tell us about that journey.
Yeah. We've graduated 61 people out of the program in less than 3 years. As of the end of this month, we'll have graduated 70 people from our program. Our program teaches the basics, so safety, construction math, which is everyone's favorite, blueprint reading, tools and materials, They get a certification, an industry recognized certification. We get them OSHA 10 safety certification, which is an industry credential that a lot of employers like. Once they finish those basics, then we go into the hands-on stuff: carpentry, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, the basics of all the trades. After they finish that 9 weeks in our training program, we then bring them on site with us. And that's where really the partnership happens. So, you know, I'm running 2 programs. I've got a training program, I've got a construction program, but they meet in the middle because our trainees get to go out with our construction crew. They get their hands dirty. They're out on the job site doing these projects in the community. So they're giving back while they're learning. And then after the 6 weeks on the job is done, they graduate, and then we support them into careers in the industry. And you know, we've had people go into all sorts of jobs. We've had, you know, the traditional trades, but then, you know, we've had people go into real estate property management. We've had project management, selections coordinators. We, you know, and I think the coolest thing about our training program is there's no age requirements other than you have to be 18. So our youngest participant was 20. The majority of our participants are in their 30s and 40s, and our oldest one was 62. And, you know, if a 90-year-old person wanted to come do this and wanted to get in the trades, we would welcome them. There's a place for everybody in this industry.
Yeah, it is amazing having been to a number of the graduations, and we'll make sure when we post this interview, we'll put a link to some of the with the lovely thing about all the media coverage are their lovely stories. And so you get to see the stories. I'm sorry, we don't have time to show a video here of the participants, the students that then become exciting members of the construction trades and other trades, and they share their stories, and it's really beautiful. So you have this business, and speaking of the media, so things have been a little crazy the past few years for you. So for those who didn't see, because we have more, so now that Nora's a cover woman locally, but is also a CNN hero and was one of the top CNN heroes, top 10 of 2022, National Association of Home Builders Woman of the Year. You've been on the Drew Barrymore show a number of times. So now you've got like the daytime talk show shtick that you're doing. What is it like? And you and I have talked privately about that. That is both exciting and presents an interesting challenge.
Yeah.
What has been exciting about all the attention? It's probably some infusion of money, which is great, but yeah, I'm sure that also adds some challenges on how you do the day-to-day and also think about scaling up.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know, certainly when I started a nonprofit, I never expected I'd be spending this much time in front of cameras, but you know, as a startup, if anyone has ever worked in a startup, you know that the first several years, it's all hands on deck. You know, you're trying to grow the business, but you're also trying to keep the lights on. And, you know, one minute I'm speaking in front of an audience, and then the next minute, like yesterday, I'm standing in line at the DMV to get a title on a new truck that we just bought. So this media attention is incredible. We're so fortunate to have it. And certainly the big benefit, I mean, yes, it's brought in a lot of donations, but just the engagement and getting our name out there and making us seem relevant to our partners. You know, there's something about, you know, seeing us on TV that makes folks think, okay, yeah, this is a thing that I should support. The other really cool thing about it is, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of evidence that this was going to work. There's not many trades training programs out there. We're the only one that has this aging in place focus in the whole country. So, you know, we're the first, and we just kind of thought, yeah, this is a thing people need. This is what we're going to do. But what has happened with all of that media attention is we get contacted from all over the country and now all over the world. People asking, when's Hope Renovations coming to my town? You know, when are you going to be in Kansas? When are you going to be? We've had people in Denmark and Ghana contact us and say, we need you here, which really drives home our belief that this is something that's needed everywhere. But the challenge of that is, you know, just capacity. You know, I have an amazing team, 15 of the most passionate, smartest people you'll ever meet. They're 100% into this, but it puts a lot on a small team to grow this quickly. And that's where really partnerships come into play. That's where volunteer help comes into play. And, we really couldn't do it without all our supporters who have our back.
Well, and that is amazing. And I know both from some of the clients of yours that I've talked with, as well as you see it on some of the media, that team, and I did know when it was one person, two people, and now that you are 15 people, and you do have quite the reputation of being a joyful team.
Yes.
When it's in one of the media clips, and I spoke, you don't know this, I spoke to one of your clients recently who you did a construction project, and she said to me, it was amazing to see not just all these women, but all these happy people as they're doing their job, whistle while we work, or, it's kind of funny, but that there's such a joy and a mission behind what you do. I know there are some questions that are starting to come in, and I do want to connect it back to the work with the Serious Illness Coalition. As a coalition, we work with all age groups, but especially a lot of folks in the aging space, because a number of older adults are living with serious illness. So a question that I have is, what has this experience taught you or shown you about what older adults need to be able to age in place, age in their homes, especially as they start having serious conditions that impact their ability to live safely and comfortably?
Yeah, I think, one of the big things that I've learned in this work is that starting small really makes a big difference, because small problems can become big problems really quickly, and you won't even realize it's happening. We do a lot of work for people at the point where the need has just gotten out of control. And it's a quick downhill to that point, something as small as a tiny water leak, or not switching out an air filter in an HVAC. As you get older, it's harder for you to take care of this stuff, to maintain your home, and those problems really can snowball and become really big problems that are then very expensive or very time consuming. And a big burden on the family. We've had a number of people that by the time we get there, they are not sure they can stay in their homes. And it is a struggle for them to do so because the problems have gotten so big. So I think that's a big thing is, when there's a small problem with someone you're giving care to in their home, or a small improvement you can make, just adding a grab bar in a hallway so they have something to hold on to.
I was just going to say the power of the grab bar and the handrail around the toilet, just to be honest with you. So that way people can be independent in the bathroom, but have the safety and security.
And there are beautiful grab bars out there. Like, you don't have to have those industrial ones. There are really, really nice ones. There's some that look like towel bars. Like, there's a lot of really nice options, and it just can make a huge difference.
So the questions are starting to come in. I want to respect them and honor them. As you talk about the different partners, you talked about clearly you're a social worker and partnering with social workers. We have a question about connecting with death doulas and other groups. How do you connect with others in the aging and the long-term care and the serious illness space, like death doulas and others that support our aging population?
Yeah, being a young organization, we've never advertised our services. It's all word of mouth, and that's, it's getting to the point now where a lot of the referrals that come in come from groups like that and from populations like that. So, I think there's so few organizations like ours doing this work, and certainly trying to find contractors. I'm sure that everyone watching this right now has had an experience where trying to find a handy person to come do a job has just been almost impossible. The word gets out quickly that this is stuff that we can do. And so a lot of it's referrals, and so what we do when we come into a home is we do an assessment. We do an evaluation. We see, that you may think this is the problem that I need fixed. It may be this plus this plus this plus this. And that's what we can see as certified aging in place specialists. And we can make those recommendations of what work needs to be done. So certainly the referrals and the word of mouth from that community is a big source of our work.
And the fact that you are so comfortable being around older adults and being around frailty. In my own case, I mean, coming around a hospital bed,
Yeah,
coming around, someone who's really struggling, that also takes a skill set and an art to be comfortable with your clients.
it's true. And I think, I mean, the feedback we get over and over. So my entire construction team is all women and non-binary folks, and just the gentleness with which we approach homes, I think, is a little bit different than our male counterparts, a lot different than our male counterparts, to be honest with you. And I think in this space and for this population, that's what's needed.
So in terms of continuing to grow, there's another question about whether, I think the question is, rather than starting your own programs in other places, have you thought about doing a training program for others that would be interested in starting Hope Renovations? I think those are those calls you're getting from Kansas and Denmark and Ghana. So that way it's more of a train the organizers as opposed to creating your own there.
Yeah, that's a great question. We're looking at different expansion models right now. So there's all kinds of different options. There's franchise models, there's affiliate models. What we've done to this point is there's been several folks who have just called and said, I want to start something up like this. And essentially, I've consulted with them for free because, this is something that needs to be happening everywhere. There's a group up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, that is starting theirs up this summer. There's a group I'm talking to in Tennessee who's starting up a similar thing. I just had a conversation with a guy out in Eastern North Carolina. We met last year, and they're starting up their classes. So, until we get to the point where we're able to manage expansion, we just want to help others figure out how to do it.
That's amazing and kind, but I do remember when I was in the room and I was like, you gotta start trademarking some of this, even the tradie ladies. And I'm gonna swear, but there was a beginning when there was that hashtag, badass women or so there is that's a good question. There was a question about whether you've connected with a program, Johns Hopkins. They have their Capable program. I know that program well. It's a hospital transitions program that connects occupational therapists with nurses, with construction folks that go into homes of people recently hospitalized to help them make sure that they can successfully transition back home. Have you started partnering with those kinds of programs? If not, I can tell you.
Yeah, that's an awesome program. We've not partnered with that specifically. What we have become is we're on the short list that like UNC Hospitals calls us when they have someone who suddenly is in a wheelchair who wasn't before. So we've done some of that work with them before. But yeah, I would be really interested in learning more about that program because that is definitely a huge need. And we work with OTs all the time, and what a thankless job, and they just have so few resources that they can share with their clients for this type of thing.
When I saw, I know I see Nicole Claggett is here from Duke, and at the caregiver conference that they had, there was a wonderful partnership between the Orange County OTs and your staff designing a bathroom and showing before and after of what an accessible bathroom looks like. So yeah, that was really great.
A really fun project. Yeah, I hope we get to do that this year again.
So we just have a few moments left. And so this issue of partnerships, and one of the ways, interesting ideas are coming through the chat line of different ways. Clearly, some of our audience members want to get involved with helping, there's a question about partnering with community colleges. So this question about how others can help you. So we're here, the North Carolina Serious Illness Coalition. How can folks like us who are in the serious illness space partner with you? I mean, we can send you clients and we could send you potential participants for your training program. Are there other ways that coalition and clearly giving a platform to advance the discussion, other ways that you're looking for organizations and partners to help out?
Right. I think that's the big thing. We it's always a capacity issue for us, as it is for all nonprofits. We want in our hearts to do more than we have the hands to do. So, as we get our name out there, as we get engagements, we get connected to partners who can help fund this work. So I would say if anyone is connected to those types of partners, introduce me, because You know, I say all the time, we can do all the work in the world if you give us the money to hire the people to do it. And we want to, we truly want to, but can't do it without those partnerships. And then a lot of folks, they just have insight and experience that they want to share. And, you know, we're fairly new in this space and we always welcome that. You know, hoperenovations.org, info at Hope Renovations is our main email address. You know, send us an email, give me a call or send me an email and maybe we can sit down and chat about some ideas.
Oh, great. And I'm so glad. Thank you for putting the website on there. So yes, www.hoperenovations.org. And from there, you'll be able, and we'll make sure that that's up on the link. We'll make sure that way people can get to you from the coalition and then be able to see all your work. I hate that we are out of time. Clearly, there's a lot more we can talk about. And I'll tell you, and I'll tell the audience, not only do you engage folks through your client work, not only do you do work with your training program, but you also have workshops and programs for folks out in the community who want to get comfortable. And after 6 or 7 years, I don't know, I've lost track. Tomorrow, you finally have me picking up a hammer.
Yay, I know.
I'm joining one of the one of the workshops that you have. You're doing a Mother's Day, creating tea platters.
We're building tea trays, yeah.
Women tea trays. So I can't believe this is what it's taken, Nora, to finally get me to swing a hammer. My daughter and I are doing the mother-daughter, and we're gonna build some things together. And so that's another neat thing. You find really exciting ways to get the community involved even in sweet ways, but really, literally and figuratively, you're building something beautiful and it's providing hope. And Nora, cannot thank you enough for joining us and really for all the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation. And Heather, personally, I know you know how much I thank you for all of what you've done for Hope Renovations. So
thank you, everyone.